Hey man, have you guys seen Oppenheimer? Have you guys seen Oppenheimer? I watched Oppenheimer, and here's my review. I liked it. I liked it a lot. I thought it was a really interesting movie. And here's the thing: I thought that in more classic Chris Nolan's like fashion, that he would be more. I thought he would be just way more into kind of like the tech and like basically I thought it would be more about building the bomb, more scientific is kind of what I'm saying, right? And surprisingly, shockingly, it was so much more about the fucking humans, like the individuals. Um it was, I think, Chris Nolan's most nuanced movie yet. Okay? Because he was juggling so much, and here's one thing that I'll say is a slight criticism: way too fast paced. You can tell, bro. I don't know if there's gonna be a director's cut, but you can tell this shit could have easily been 5 hours long. Okay, the theatrical version's 3 hours, which is probably like the max that you're pretty much allowed nowadays, I'd imagine. But yeah, no, I really enjoyed the movie. Okay, I have some historical context a little bit for Oppenheimer. I mean, for like the Second World War as well as the Red Scare that occurred afterward, right? And it was just fascinating because, bro, I didn't expect Chris Nolan to get into the realm of politics, right? But here's the thing, right? I walked out. I watched this with my brothers, and my brother Alex mentioned like, it was a little bit too political, and he was kind of saying that as in like, because he's a guy who like would prefer to like learn about the science behind it. He was like hoping it would be a little bit more about like creating the bomb. Um, but in my mind, my response was basically like, bro, like he can't make a movie about a nuke that got dropped on Japan without making it political. You know what I mean? This is one of the most political subjects that could possibly be fucking brought up, right? So yeah, I thought it was a good movie, but I don't really think it's a masterpiece that everyone was talking about. Left me wanting more. I will say though, the OST is 10 out of 10. Bro, okay. Yes, absolutely. And look, Chris Nolan, there was a lot of times when he was channeling some shit, bro. Like, I thought genuinely that the pace would slow down as the movie went on. This is to me the breakdown of the movie. Fast paced, fast paced, fast paced. A lot of information and exposition, learning about Oppenheimer. Bomb. Bomb is like the most we got to breathe throughout the entire movie. And in a way, the way that he crafted it was so fucking masterful. Because, and he did this in Dunkirk too. This is the first time I think I've ever noticed this, and I really picked up on it. And you know what's funny is that I integrated this into the H3H3 video that I made. Literally, I watched Dunkirk, and in the H3H3 video, at the end, when I basically conclude with what I'm saying, there's a ticking noise, right? There's a ticking noise for like a good 2 minutes that's building up and getting louder and louder. And then by the end, I say, your time's up. And then the ticking noise stops. The exact same thing happens in Dunkirk, right? Like there's a ticking. And here's the thing that fucked with me when I first watched Dunkirk. I didn't even realize that the ticking was happening until it stopped. And when it stopped, I was like, holy shit. You know what I mean? Because now it's like, wow, I'm really taking this in. And he did something similar in Oppenheimer. This movie, the score is occurring almost the entire time. There is not any breath with no music. It's crazy. The dialogue is so goddamn fast paced. This guy really just created a movie with a bunch of dudes talking in rooms. And yet, when we get to the bomb actually detonating, dead fucking silence. And that moment of dead silence, bro, holy shit, it felt like I was at the top of a roller coaster. Absolutely incredible. Incredible. A beautiful payoff. Here is the thing I will say though. He did a bad job of demonstrating the scale of the bomb, in my opinion. But I understand the counter opinion, because in my head I was watching the movie and I was like, why the fuck did he not have like a massive wide angle showing how incredibly engulfing and disastrously terrifying this bomb is? Like, there wasn't a shot that really demonstrated that to me. And here's the reason, I'm pretty sure. Might be cap, but this is a recurring thing throughout the movie where it's like, and yes, there's different timelines covering some different perspectives, but the prime perspective that we are meant to be observing this movie from is Oppenheimer's perspective, okay? Throughout the majority of the timelines, we are extremely diligently sticking to Oppenheimer's perspective. It's not objective accounts. This is literally the world as it's interpreted by Oppenheimer. So when he is looking at the nuke, right, he's looking at it through a small little fucking piece of glass, and the images that we see of the nuke is almost, if anything, again, it's obviously paralleling a lot of the images that were flashing in fucking Oppenheimer's brain when he was like a student, right? Because he was thinking about molecular theory, right? But yeah, we're basically like, we're only shown the nuke. We're only shown as much as Oppenheimer basically saw. And he saw that it was a success and it was fucking terrifying effectively, right? And, you know, long story short, though, it was a success. There's another instance where this became totally apparent to me that this is probably consciously what Nolan's doing. Because, bro, when they dropped the nuke on Japan, I fully and completely expected to get an incredible, disastrous POV of the nuke being dropped in Japan. What I'm basically saying is that I expected to see like extremely overt carnage occurring because of the nuke. And I was so surprised when we were deprived of that. We didn't see the nuke drop at all. And initially I was like, and we didn't see the blast either. And initially I was like, what a fuck up. What a wasted opportunity. This could have been such an incredible cinematic fucking moment. But I realized it was more than likely, maybe budget, maybe just it wouldn't serve his story. Maybe he thought that he couldn't demonstrate it better than our imagination would, you know, be able to see it, right? Because we can all imagine how fucking insane that is, right? Some things are easier to imagine than they are to demonstrate or to show, right? An example of that is like COVID-19, right? How the fuck are you going to represent COVID? You know what I mean? Like to a person. You're going to show a fucking molecule? That doesn't really like there's no way to really encapsulate the insanity that was the pandemic, right? There's no like, you know, 10-second clip that you can show to encapsulate the fucking insanity of that. It's the imagination that you rely on. And I think that this is, I'm totally deviating from Oppenheimer, but I think this is why there are people who completely deny that COVID existed, or they downplay like the severity of it. They don't think it mattered at all. They thought it was just a flu, whatever. Because you don't just see people dying in the streets. You know what I mean? You don't see people fucking, melting in the streets from COVID. No, they're dying in hospital beds, right? You know, in isolated locations. Anyway, back to Oppenheimer. I think that the reason why he decided, because it must have been a decision, bro. There must have been a point where he was like, no, we're not going to show the nuke in Japan. The reason I think he decided that is because he wanted to stick to Oppenheimer's perspective. And Oppenheimer didn't see any of that shit. He only saw the fucking newspaper, which is what they showed, you know? Because he, again, was completely out of the loop of like the actual military operation. He was a small cog, not small, but he was a big cog in the machine, but that cog didn't get any say in other areas of the machine, you understand? And that's emphasized, and I think that's fucking marvelous that they emphasize that, because it truly does show, like, this was not just about Oppenheimer in any way. Oppenheimer was a tool for the American government in a large sense. They demonstrated it through Rob's imagination. Yes, they did, but what they did was it was clever for sure, and it was absolutely like a fucking captivating moment. But I expected it to be so much more devastating. When he is giving the speech and he basically has to like talk about how much of a success this is, and you can tell he's like having a fucking existential crisis while he's giving the speech, which is nightmarish in its own right. And he's getting basically like flashes, and then you hear a scream. The scream's fucking insane. The scream to me, you know, that is the thing that like, boom, like imagine my imagination. I was bracing myself, bro, because I was like, we're about to see some fucked up shit. But my imagination was imagining that, you know what I mean? And we never see this stuff. We see like people's faces like peeling, but like it's so bare bones. And so yeah, that like deafening silence followed by those sounds, that shit fucking wild. Another thing that I noticed that kind of correlates with the fact that we're only looking at Oppenheimer's perspective is, again, they didn't know what the nuke would really do to humans. Obviously, it'll blow the fucking shit out of them, but we're talking like people who were caught within the blast, beyond the blast radius, right? And when they have Oppenheimer in the fucking room where they're debriefing them on the effects of the blast, and they're showing basically corpses of people and how they were affected, literally they show Oppenheimer looking away, not looking at the dead people being presented. And I guess as a result, we are not shown either. I don't know if that's just because they didn't want to get, you know, rated R, but Oppenheimer literally looks away and we don't get to see it. You know what I mean? So I feel like that probably was consciously decided. My brothers called me a fucking nerd emoji for pointing this shit out. But to me, this shit's fascinating because, bro, I was so ready to see that fucking nuke go off, man. I don't know. What the hell did I just join into? We're talking about Oppenheimer, okay? I'm giving my review. Now, to me, the most fascinating thing about Oppenheimer, I've probably said most fascinating way too many times. One of the most weird things about Oppenheimer, okay, that surprised me for a Nolan movie. First of all, there was nudity. Never seen that shit in a Nolan movie, as far as I'm aware. And I've watched, I think, let me just check. How many Nolan movies have I watched? A lot of them. But yeah, there was nudity, and it was actually like a sexual context. And Nolan, like, bro, this guy's like a pastor. The guy's not, you know, doing sex scenes and shit like that. He's not a pastor. That was just cap. I was just like saying that. But let me see. Dark Knight. Yeah. No, I don't think any of these have any kind of nudity. Basically, he stuck his toe in a sex scene, and I did not expect that at all from Oppenheimer. It's just funny to me how he like. We really do learn a lot about this guy. Where it's like he's low key like. He's like a player, but he's also like a womanizer, they say. You know what I mean? He's like cheating on his fucking wives. The scene where he's getting interrogated and he has to basically admit that he cheated on his wife with his lover who killed herself. And then they show her killing herself and there's a fucking glove. Bro, the glove actually... that was when I was like, whoa, like Chris Nolan's on some shit here because, you know, he understands some of the implications of the deep state, bro. That's what I mean when I say this movie's nuanced. I don't know if you guys, maybe you missed that scene, but like, here, I'll explain it. Basically, one of Oppenheimer's lovers, this is not a huge plot point, one of his lovers that was like a wild commie woman, basically. She was a psychologist, but she was like mentally ill, it seemed like. But she was sexy, is the idea. Like, she was like sexually like very desirable. Anyway, the last time Oppenheimer basically took a great risk by meeting with a communist while developing a nuclear bomb that, you know, they don't want any of the Soviet Union to figure out. Okay, and he took a risk by meeting up with her, and he basically said like, "Thanks for streaming. Thank you, Anitzella. God bless. Thank you for the $10. Yo, if anybody wants to donate for text to speech, like literally your thing will be read out loud. Use the Stream Elements link, okay, in the pinned chat, all right? Just because that way YouTube doesn't get a cut, because fuck YouTube, and obviously your thing gets to be read out loud. So thank you again, though. You a great movie reviewer. I want to see the movie now. I like your interpretation about lack of Japan scenes, and to be honest, I think it would have been kind of cheap if he had shown it. Kind of sensationalist. Yeah, facts, but I'm going to be honest. I'm a bit of a weasel because I wanted that sensationalist. Like, I wanted to see what he would demonstrate because it's such a, like, there is so much opportunity to show carnage and fucking despair and insanity. It's, you know, from the Japanese perspective, bro, that was it. Do you understand that they dropped 2 weapons of mass destruction on civilian occupied territory? I don't know that everyone fully understands that. Like, there are people who I've seen who've watched this, and they've basically said, well, yeah, they did the right thing. Like, what the fuck? What, you know what I mean? It's not even a doubt. Like, they did the right thing. Yeah, obviously it sucks. The Japanese. It's like, it's not so obvious that they did the right thing. Okay, they dropped 2. They dropped 2. I'm not here to make a moral claim either. Okay, this is not my lane right now. But I really liked, again, the nuance, bro. Chris Nolan, fucking dude. I genuinely love the way that this motherfucker nailed the nuance because, yeah, Oppenheimer clearly is having like a ton of fucking visions and troubles, basically rationalizing to himself this shit afterwards. And then they show how he met with Truman, the president at the time, who, you know, was the one who approved of dropping the bombs, you would assume. And Oppenheimer, literally, this is based on fact. Oppenheimer, when he met the president, he said, "I can't help but feel like there's blood on my hands." And Truman, this is not based on fact necessarily, but Truman like has this amazing fucking sick moment where he sits down and he's like, "Buddy, do you think they're fucking asking who made the bomb? No, they're asking who dropped it, and I'm that fucking guy. So sit the fuck down, you're not that important." Type of thing. He basically humbled them. And then apparently his way out of the presidential office, Oppenheimer, you can overhear Truman saying, "Don't let that crybaby back in here." So in reality, apparently, Truman did say, "Don't let him back in here," but he only called him a crybaby like later, at a later point, basically, like he, like later as in like, I don't know if it was months or years, whatever. But yeah, basically like they show the book like a multiple perspectives to the point where it's like, there are people who are justifying it. There are people who are saying like, that's so fucked up, I can't believe it. They're showing the engineers who are literally like fucking traumatized. They're like, bro, I was developing this thing. Because keep in mind that the vast majority of the engineers and physicists and all these people, they had no clue of the grander plot on what they were working on. They understood, maybe they understood that it was a weapon of mass destruction they were working on. Maybe. Some of them understood that. But they didn't know it was going to get used until the fucking news broke, okay? So, you know, the last 4 years of your life, you've been devoting your literal essence into crafting a bomb that just killed 200,000 people. Congratulations! Yeah, so they show that. And there's some people who are, like, hysterically happy. Like, we fucking did it, dude! We did it! Yes, hell yeah! And then there's Roderick from fucking Diary of a Wimpy Kid, literally with snot and puke out of his mouth. Like, clearly, like, you know, fucked up over it. They show the unionization, bro. They show so many and this is the incredible thing about the movie, bro. I thought it was only going to be fast-paced at the start. It's literally non-stop fast-paced throughout the entire thing, and there was not a second where I was bored. That's the biggest thing. That's the reason why I think it's genuinely a great movie. Because when I would watch something like Transformers, I think it was the 3rd Transformers movie, it was 3 hours. And I literally remember as a kid, I was a kid watching Transformers, and in front of my eyes is non-stop action that is technically incredible. But I literally was like, this is fucking boring as shit. Like, I'm falling asleep to this. There's like, the plot was just not interesting to me. And here in Oppenheimer, it's like non-stop stimulation, non-stop. So like, it is a totally worthwhile movie to watch. Let's see, literally unlocked Pandora's box. Yeah, the ending, bro, the fucking ending. There's so much I could say about this movie. But obviously you should just watch it at this point. If you haven't watched it and you're listening to me gush over it like this, you should just watch it. it's a movie I would recommend so hard so heavily because it is also so historical, bro. It gives you a lens for the earth. This is one of the biggest things I love about fucking movies, bro. It gives you a lens for interpreting the fucking world, all right? And this one is a massive, and again with the nuance, it's so beautiful because it gives you a peek into the Red Scare, which is something that was very real that happened in America. It gives you a peek into the military-industrial complex of fucking the U.S. It gives you a peek into, yeah, of course, like I guess the sexual, complicated relationship of Oppenheimer. There's a lot of nuance to it. One thing that seemed like cap that I don't believe probably really happened was Oppenheimer almost poisoning his fucking professor. I don't know if that was just like to make it interesting, to make him seem more compelling. Maybe it is true. I'm not sure, but yeah, no, wicked movie. So many people, by the way, comment about how like the technical shit about this stuff because Chris Nolan films attract the biggest nerds ever. And I'm a nerd, but I'm like a plot nerd. You know what I mean? I'm more of a narrative nerd. Um, but yeah, like people comment about how he recorded it in film, which is impressive, and you should watch it in IMAX, is what I've been told. And I watched it in IMAX, and it was great. It was great. You could definitely watch it in not IMAX though, in my opinion. Like it doesn't matter. But yeah, no, it was visually, bro. Like it's a fucking Nolan movie. Like it was pretty good. Not gonna lie, hearing you speak about the movie is really making me consider my personal score that I gave. Yo, JKHG102. Tell me the personal score you gave. Here's the thing. I'm gonna actually go on this fucking rant, bro, because I want to expand. I have been learning about American history over the last couple of months pretty avidly, okay? And so for me to see it on the big screen, like, bro, I've never seen a mainstream movie like talk about the Red Scare in a way that was like so overt like this, you know what I mean? Um let's see. IMAX is not necessary. Trust. If you watched it in not IMAX, you didn't like miss fucking anything, in my opinion. Wow, Oppenheimer actually did try to poison his professor. What a fucking Sigma male, dude. Oppenheimer's a Sigma male. Bro, it's just funny to me because Oppenheimer's like the ballsiest motherfucker until the nukes get dropped, and then it's like his balls got castrated, kind of. Like, and there's literally a line where he's like, Robert Downey Jr.'s character, Strauss, the guy who fucked up, or who basically positioned Oppenheimer to get basically his security clearance stripped from him. Basically, the guy who betrayed Oppenheimer, okay? First of all, I'll say that was the weakest storyline because Nolan did a brutal job really like outlining that. It was just way too fucking fast, and it was like that timeline, I could tell he was cramming it in a weird way with Strauss. I still liked it, it was interesting context, but nah, it wasn't necessary. Yeah, bruh made fun of me, so I poisoned him. Yeah, literally. Yeah, no, Oppenheimer literally was a savage, and then the bomb goes off and he gets castrated. And that's why I think it's so interesting, because there's actually a number of characters who basically say, like, this guy is so contrite now, you know what I mean? Oh, why the fuck is his morals catching up with him now that the bomb actually got used? What a fucking idiot. You know what I mean? Like, what was wrong with the idea of creating the bomb prior? No, you just wanted to prove yourself, and now that you've proven yourself, you're acting all contrite and like, oh my goodness, I can't believe what I've done, just so that you can absolve yourself in a sense of that kind of like judgment of like being that guy who initiated that shit, you know what I mean? Oppenheimer is my favorite movie of this year so far. All right, yeah, of this year so far, probably same for me. The thing, here's what I'll say about Oppenheimer. It's not going to be like technically like, it's not going to be like one of my favorites, okay? I'm just saying it was a really good movie. It was a good experience. You know what I mean? But it's not like something that I personally identify with in my heart of hearts. You know what I mean? This ain't no Cowboy Bebop for me. But yeah, I will rewatch the fuck out of that movie.